Hi, it's Mr. Baumgarten back with the next Flask video for you, creating a web server using Python with the Flask library. And this time we're going to take a look at sessions. And sessions is a way of being able to have our web server remember information about the user who is accessing our website between their different requests, and to differentiate one user from the other. So let's take a quick look at how we might go about doing that. So I'll just move the browser out of the way, and let's create something that we might want to remember, something really exciting like the person's name. So if I go to our home page that we have here, let's create a second form on this one. Form action remember me. Sounds good. Do the method equals post for that, and because I'm not uploading a file at the moment, I don't need the enc type of being multi-part form data. And let's just say, what is your name? Input type equals text, and we'll just name this variable name, shall we? And then let's put in a submit button. Type equals submit, name equals submit, value equals remember me. Right, so now if I refresh my website, okay, what is your name? So, yep, Mr. B, click remember me, and we'll get a not found because we don't have a remember me path yet. So let's take a look at what we want to do here. We need to set it up so that it remembers sessions. So first of all, we need to add a couple of extra imports. And so from Flask, import session. And that will give us a session object that we can use to remember information between browse requests. But there is a limitation to it, which we'll get to and then overcome in a moment. So app route remember me methods equals post on remember me. And so we will receive the request object from the form, which was called name. What do we want to do with that? So let's just say we just put it straight into session. All right, so session is basically a Python dictionary that will now exist, and anything we put there will be remembered between execution calls. So if we just return hello session name, I will remember you. Okay, and we might as well just print out something as well. The person session name has asked to be remembered. All right, nothing too complicated here. Let's come back to this. So if I type in Mr. B, remember me, and I get an error because no secret key was set. All right, so what happens by default is that the sessions will use cookies to save the information to the web browser. And so to try and limit the ability of the user from reading that information, and more importantly manipulating that information, it's important that there is a secure form of encryption going on, and so we have to set what's known as a security key for it. So how do we do that? I am glad you asked. It's we just come up to the top of our program, and for our app we set a configuration value of secret key And this is what will be used to encrypt the traffic to the web browser and back. So you want to make it fairly good. A nice random key is generally a good idea. So you can kind of go crazy like that if you want, because it's not a key you're ever going to have to remember. Yeah. Right. So let's see how this works now, shall we? If I could bring it across my web browser, what is your name? And I'll just type in Mr. B, remember me. Hello, Mr. B, I will remember you. All right, so how can we get it to do something that shows it remembers us? How about we have it print out our name on the index page if it knows who we are? At the moment, our index page, we are just doing send file index.html. But how about we use a render template for the index if we have a session? So I'm going to come to my index and create a second version, which I will save into the templates folder. All right, so now I've got two index.htmls, and this one can say, welcome back person. So now in my main, if name in session, then I'm going to render the template, otherwise I'm just going to return the default one. So return render template index.html, and what did I call it here? I called it person. So person is equal to session name, else just send the regular HTML index. Right, let's see if that works. I'll bring my web browser back across and refresh. Welcome back, Mr. B. Okay, so now if I say, let's just type in something full there. Well, hello, Mr. Baumgarten, I will remember you, and let's go back to that, and it has remembered who I am. Now, if I close this and reopen it, will it still remember who I am? Localhost, it's forgotten who I am. So it only remembers it between Chrome sessions. If you close Chrome all the way, it forgets. How can we make it remember persistently who I am? To do that, we are going to get it to save extra information to our server. And so I'm going to create a new folder here called sessions. And so we will start saving session information into this folder. Before we go any further, we have to install another package. So pip install Flask session. And in my case, it's already there, so that's great. I will exit that. And I will now, from Flask underscore session, import session capital S. Now be aware that the pip install was Flask capital S hyphen session. All right, just to make it confusing, it was a hyphen on the pip install, but it's an underscore here when you do the import. Do be aware of that difference. All right, a couple of extra configuration settings that we want to give this. App config session type, and we are going to use the file system. Now you can use databases and other things like that, but the file system is the quickest and easiest to get up and running, so for beginner purposes, it's more than sufficient. By the time you're looking to use something like a database, then by all means, plow through all the documentation online and enjoy figuring that out. This tutorial is mainly designed to get you up and running. All right, session file directory, and we are going to use os path join. We want to join a couple of names together, so we're going to use the wherever our app is, and we are going to use the sessions folder that comes off of that, which we've just created. Finally, app config session file threshold. This is how many sessions worth of information do we want to store before we start deleting sessions. So let's allow up to 1,000 people to use sessions before we start forgetting who they are. And then finally, we just use session. We pass our app project to the session package. And that's all we have to do with that. Okay, so there has been a breaking change to the workzeg module, which we need to address. So pip uninstall workzeg yes, and then I want to pip install workzeg, but specify 0.16.0. That's the version that we want to use on our machine. And that should now allow our sessions to work. So let's put in a name. Hi, Mr. B, I will remember you. Welcome back, Mr. B, when I refresh. And if I look inside my sessions folder, there's a couple of temporary files here, which contains my session data. And now if I close all my Chrome windows and open back up again, with any luck, it remembers who I am. And now the only way for me to be forgotten is to clear my cookies. So there you go. You can remember when your people have returned and so if you're implementing something like a login, you don't need them to log in each and every time they visit your web page. You can just get them to log in the once, and it can keep on remembering them. And so you can use this session method. Where is it? So session, come up with any variable name you want to store in there, any kind of string or integer, and you retrieve it by the same method, and it will remember them across different web pages, different routes, and different sessions. So there you go. This is Mr. Baumgarten signing out.